You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. It is time for Talkin' Shop today. I pre-apologize for my voice. I think I used it all up at San Diego Comic-Con, and it's just now hitting me. It's kind of like squeaky, and I apologize for that. I do want to thank everybody that's been part of our channel and has really made the deep dive for the subscribers this last week. Thank you so much for helping us add to those numbers. Just follow along with us on the webpage and in the shows to find out when we're going to start giving away those amazing slabs that you guys have earned. We're going to be giving away 20 slabs, and then I have got some special stuff that I'm going to be giving away as we get higher into the numbers. So be paying attention, turn on your notifications, tell your friends to subscribe, because hey, if you help them win a slab comic, they'll like that too. Today's going to be one long interview, because we wanted to give all the space and time we could to this special guest. So we're going to get to talk for a long time to Sara Frazetta. She's amazing, amazing human being. And I want you guys to really focus in on all the things that she's done to just assure the legacy of her grandpa's work. And she has got her own special talents too. And we're going to deep dive into all those cool things. We're going to be right back after this. Hey everybody, it's time to get to it. This is your reminder to think of some good questions and start popping them up there. I see Nick is already in the room, and Nate Strong and John Spilly. Oh, I'm going to get it. Spiliopoulos. Man, I'm going to give up. You guys have a special name for John, and I don't remember what it is, but he's thebomb.com. And Cool Gamer and Kenneth Bird are already in the room. Thank you guys so much. And again, another reminder to share out. We don't always have access to this kind of amazing personage, and you guys can be the cool person that tells your friends all about it. So, all right, everybody, welcome. We have Sara Frazetta to talk to today.
Hi, Jen. Hi, community. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. The whole hour, I feel very special.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about before we came on, and you guys should definitely chime in the chat. The heatening. Which is not a word, of the Americas today. You're coming all the way from Florida, and you said it was hot there. How hot do you have it?
It's about 100 degrees today, but I mean, maybe we'll both just like melt into puddles on this live, Jen. Texas and Florida.
Okay, so but this is what I've learned about this, is that because we're in like the tropics, as it turns out, with all that humidity, is our skin is going to be beautiful and young all of our lives. And never leathery.
It's true. When I go to Colorado, I look 10 years older, and it's very disturbing. So I come back to Florida very quickly. Like, oh no, this isn't good. Too many expressions.
Those dry places, right?
Yeah, not good.
It's still nice to visit, though. I like going there. I've got my in-laws are in Colorado, Pagosa Springs. I love being there, but yeah, it's real dry, and the altitude gets me too. Do you get altitude sickness?
Everyone talks about Colorado as like this great adventure. And I went to Breckenridge. It was a negative 11 degrees. I got altitude sickness and had to get like shipped down to Denver. It was horrible. I'm like, I'd rather just like look at a screensaver and be like, look at the beautiful snow. It was not any difference to me. So I'm going to stay in Florida. I'm done. Like, it's here or California. Texas is nice too. It's hot, but once you get used to it, you're just kind of like, I don't know, the cold, my arthritis. It's just, I get why people, when they get older, they come down here. It doesn't make sense. We're not supposed to be in the cold.
That's the other weird thing that happens, and I don't know if it's the same for you guys, is that all the businesses and everywhere you go keeps everything sub-zero. So you go in and you have to wear like sweaters. And when you come out, you're like, okay, I'm thawing now.
Yeah, it's really good for our nervous system.
John Williams just popped on and said you got his Dark Wolf pre-ordered.
Oh, thank you, John. We're so excited about that. I mean, this is our first action figure. We're manufacturing it. We designed it. And, this is really driven by the Frazetta fans. I mean, we always listen to the fans. But with the action figures, people have just been asking for gosh, I got into this business in 2013 and they've been asking since I got into it. They're like, when are you going to make action figures? And, it worked out a little bit with licensing, but it's just not quick enough. So we're like, we have to do it ourselves. So thank you, John. Many more action figures to come. We're super excited.
Okay. Wasn't going to get into this part right now, but I'm super intrigued and I have to know. When you're talking about that you decided that you were going to go ahead and make the moves toward making an action figure, what does that look like on your end? Where does it start?
So my business partner and life partner, his name is Joe. He's very talented. He's brilliant. And he started with some designs. We started talking to Eamon O'Donoghue. Eamon worked with Marvel. He worked with Mezco. He's a toy designer. So they just started working on drawings and taking a lot of my grandfather's preliminary drawings for Fire and Ice, animation cells, and compiling all of them and getting the sketches all completed. Like I said, the design of the toy. Then it was a lot of back and forth with manufacturers overseas, molding processes. Just everything from getting the articulation to the painted figure. And we're still going through the process right now. So we're waiting for that articulated figure to arrive any day now. But he's been working. I'll tell you this. Eamon and Joe have been working at this for the last 6 months, every single day for like 10 hours a day. That's how much time went into this process. I mean, they don't stop. It's incredible. And it's motivating to me because I'm like, I need to work harder because I feel like a terrible person just observing and posting about it. I'm like, I need to do more. This is pathetic.
How many times have you gone around the corner to see your sweetie and give him a kiss and caught him playing with action figures? True.
Yeah. No, he just says, get away from me. I'm busy making a Frazetta Icon collectible company. and now it's all paying off. I'm a little offended. I'm like, well, let's go do something fun on the weekend. He's like, there's no weekend when you're trying to build a company there and multiple companies. There's no, you don't have the downtime. That's not you don't get that luxury anymore.
I hear you.
Jen.
Sister, tell me.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go take a trip down memory lane. Since we're talking about toys, do you have a memory of a toy that your grandpa gave you? Birthday or Christmas? Do you have a good one?
I mean, he really never he wasn't the gift giver. His love language was time. So the time he would spend the one-on-one, and it was the best. My grandma was the gift giver, and my grandma would, of course, she spoiled the crap out of me. I was the first grandkid of 11, and I just got anything that I wanted. But I think my grandpa and I with toys. Let's see, it was definitely my grandma who bought the toy, but my grandma would she collected those like old wind-up toys. And she would sit them on my, a high chair. Like, I don't have kids, you can tell. The high chair and put them all out for me, display them. And she'd coax me into eating it that way because I was a terrible fussy eater. So my grandma and grandpa would just sit around and watch me and think it was just adorable, trying to get me to eat and watching me interact with those little toys. So that was my first memory with toys.
Oh, we're part of the community of fussy eaters. I would only eat SpaghettiOs. What was your thing?
Graham crackers and Fig Newtons.
Okay, the Fig Newtons at least probably have something nutritional in them.
Yeah, the fig, but it's sadly all still converting to carbs and sugar and rotted all my baby teeth out of my head. So yeah, needs teeth. Now I'm starting to lose adult teeth. I'm like, that's not good. These don't grow back in like the baby teeth. Got to keep these.
Wait till you get to be my age. When you enter your 50s, everything starts falling off. They don't tell you that beforehand.
No, you think that it's going to be okay, but then you think about all the drilling they've done over the years, and it's like, oh, that could only sustain for so long. And then those are going to fall out. Then what? Now I'm already like thinking, I'm like, oh man, dentures at 50, like my grandparents.
But seriously, now they've started doing some amazing things. Like it used to be if you had cataracts that they just go in and take the cataracts out. Now they replace your lens with like a bionic lens. So you get even better eyes than you had before. So probably they're just going to have some kind of bionic teeth to give us.
I think they are going to start growing the teeth. It'll be like a stem cell. Yeah, I hope they do that, Jen. I really do. I'm like waiting for that technology and like just fill it back in there. I don't want to have to resort to the gold tooth in the back. I want to get something
if you
like
could choose, like let's go into this. We'll go into the future here. If you could choose between like shark teeth, like a lion's teeth, or I don't know. Now I've got myself in a vampire teeth. What would you choose?
Vampire for sure.
Yeah.
My mom has, and I've seen it before a couple of times, but my mom has like those natural fangs, and they're so cool. I'm like, Mom, you could just be a vampire every Halloween, and people would be like, oh my God, how did you get those prosthetic fangs on? She's like, they're real. But yeah, a vampire.
I think that
shark teeth, that's like too much. That's too much.
I think when we had retained, I don't know if he had braces, but I think when they took them off, they were like, we're just going to file this down. And I should have stopped them, Should have stopped that. I just want to say we have Comics with Bueller on and the Cantonese Comic Kid. They got some awesome people on right now.
Hey guys, yeah, thank you guys for the support. Fire and Ice is a passion project. I have to thank Nick Barucci, Matt Idleston, and everyone at Dynamite. Of course, our writer Bill Willingham and Leonardo Manco, the artist, all of our cover artists. I mean, this has been the journey of this project was so worth it. It's like I always tell people, when the end product's done, that you better be working on something else, because that's not what it's about. It's about the process, and this process was such an experience. I mean, we had our downs, our panics, and that's good, because then when it all starts pulling together, you appreciate it more. But just to see those scripts come in from Bill Willingham, and I really let my intuition guide me on this. And Nick, I'm so, like I said, so thankful to him that he allowed us to have so much creative freedom, because Bill Willingham was the only person for this job. I mean, the way that he can world build and story tell, it's not easy to take something that's already made and it's a cult classic and so many people love it. And when you tell people, oh, a Fire and Ice story, it's going to be remade, people really don't want remakes. I personally don't love a lot of the remakes. So them coming up with this idea to do it as a prequel was just brilliant. But then having someone to do the prequel, it's a lot of pressure on that writer. And he just, every time he turned in a script, my partner Joe and I would just be like, all right, drop everything. It's time to read this script. And we'd just look back and forth at each other and be like, it's so good, right? It's just so good. and I hope everyone loves it as much as we do. I'm realizing in this creative process, the best you can do is put out something that you really love and hope others feel the same. I mean, it's art subjective, but we have to keep our integrity with this. And I know what my grandfather would have wanted. And when I watched some interviews of Bill Willingham, it wasn't even from I had never read his Fables series from DC. Of course, the reviews were stellar, but I wasn't much of a comic reader. That's changing now. But I really just, I watched interviews of him, and when I was listening to him talk, I was like, okay, my grandfather would have really loved him, and that's rare. And I said, this is the guy. He's in, and there was a little bit of, Nick's told this story. Nick was like, hey, Bill's a little hard to nail down with deadlines. And I'm like, doesn't matter how long it takes. Me not even thinking, poor Nick, he's like, oh yeah, you want to finance this? but I was just like really one track minded, and I'm like, I have faith in him. He'll get it done. And he did. And and Leonardo Manco, he takes his time too, because his art is just insane, the details. So I think everyone's going to be they're just going to see, if they don't love the series, they're at least going to see how much effort went into making this with all the details and everything else.
All right. So this is me wanting to learn some stuff. Okay. So this is new to me. So I learned that this is based on, and it may have an even earlier version, 1983 film.
Yes.
Did it have a
Yes.
life ahead of the film, or was its first, like it was created as film?
Created as film. So Ralph Bakshi always really wanted to work with my grandfather, and he created this based on a number of paintings that my grandpa had made over the years. So, I mean, you can look at the character Tigra, and you can see Tigra as Deja Thoris, as Catgirl, as all these different Frazetta girls that had been created over the years. And then he and Jerry Conway and Roy Thomas came together, made the screenplay, and then basically adapted all the Frazetta art into being a Frazetta movie. So my grandpa, he really enjoyed the process. He loved films and he wanted to make more films. He said he would never work on another animated film though, because it was like the hardest thing to do. He did rotoscoping animation, which is like insanely time consuming and expensive. And but he would have never done any rotoscoping again after that experience, but he really wanted to get into live action films. But unfortunately, he had his stroke and his thyroid issues and everything else and wasn't able to do it. But because Fire and Ice was like the one movie that he got to do, he really cared about it. I mean, I tell people when they're like, oh, yeah, I think I watched it at 10 years old. And I said, I have you beat. I watched it at 5 with my grandfather. And it's not really a child friendly film, but because it's Frazetta and that's the world we grew up in. I mean, that was just part of the being my grandfather's granddaughter and watching Fire and Ice at 5 years old. So we watched it though, even till the end of his life. When he moved to Boca Grande, Florida after my grandmother passed away. And I was with my partner, Joe, at the time. And my grandfather was in that really reflective stage of his life. I know he had just lost his wife. His health was declining rapidly. And we watched Fire and Ice and Painting with Fire, his documentary, like too many times to count. But he was just so proud of that. He was so proud of that accomplishment that he had made in his life.
It's amazing. So, okay. I went and visited the Frazetta Girls website, which is amazing, guys. You guys should go and just thumb through there at all the amazing things that there is in the site and the information that's on the site. But it also mentioned in there a Robert Rodriguez film that was potentially something that actually came to fruition, and I missed it. I'm kind of a Rodriguez fan, and I don't remember this.
So Rodriguez got behind the Frazetta property in 2011. He is a massive Frazetta fan and bought some originals. He had commissioned my grandfather to paint the Dusk Till Dawn movie poster. Of course, my grandpa was late and then missed the deadline, so he had to use another alternative. And so Robert connected with the family, and he was very interested in remaking Fire and Ice, and that was going to be a live action film. But unfortunately, that Hollywood studios didn't really work out. There was some stuff within my family that made it not work out with just a family member that doesn't like to make anything work out. But we are not giving up hope. We know something will happen with Rodriguez at some point with Frazetta. There will be a crossover because he's just so passionate about it, and he would be really a perfect person to do a Frazetta live action or animation, but just not yet. Fingers crossed. Yeah,
I think he's a brilliant filmmaker. I mean, you have to understand when you have somebody that makes things like Dusk Till Dawn, but then you also from the same brain have Spy Kids, which I still am obsessed with as an adult.
Did you see the Armageddon's coming out? The new one. No, yeah.
Yay!
I know. I just saw that today.
Such a good. All right, so talk about, so you wrote Vampirilla Dead Flowers under the Dynamite label. Was that your first writing work, or have you done other comic books or other writings before?
No, that was my first one, and it was co-written with my friend Bob Freeman. Bob Freeman's also writing the Fire and Ice role-playing game, which will be out very soon. And I really wanted to do this project with Bob because Bob had approached me years ago to do this role-playing game, and he's been working with us tirelessly and having faith in the project. And we said, Bob, this was years ago. We're like, we can't pay you right now, but we hope something will come of it. And he just had that good faith in us that something would come of it. And he's just been along the ride and watching us grow and growing with us. And Bob's such a fan of like gothic horror, and I'm like, Bob, I'm like, do you want to co-write a story with? And he's a huge Vampirella fan, so I was like, you know, he's the real writer. Bob Freeman is the real writer. I was of course I did some writing as well. I'm co-writing it, but a lot of it was concepts and what I would want to see from Vampirella, and bringing in, you know, ghosts and werewolves, and kind of bringing like a True Blood inspiration in, because that's like I love True Blood. So that's been a really rewarding process, and that's definitely inspired me now to have that faith in my ideas, and just maybe, you know, always have a great writer and editor because I'm a bit dyslexic, so I definitely need help in that department.
It sounds like it was a good creative match. All right, everyone's losing their mind over the RPG. Please tell me that you can also, as a playable character, can be the white tiger.
The what?
The white tiger that's part of the two. I don't know all their names yet, but they're the sinewy jungle women. They had
Zara's, yes, Forest Ghost.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I want to be one of those. I want to be the white lion.
Yeah. No, we so the role playing game it's going to be a sequel. So we have the prequel, we have the movie, and then we have the sequel as the role playing game. So it's all the aftermath. And I can't. God, I'm about to like do spoiler alerts unintentionally. But
you're telling me my white tiger doesn't make it.
I'm so sorry. Cut me off. No. This series, this is an emotional series. I'm going to tell people, get ready, because there were some issues where I was crying, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, why am I going to get so invested in this emotionally? But the role playing game, it will be a Kickstarter. It's going to be coming out through Dynamite and Frazetta Girls, and we should have that live, I believe, August 8th. So that will be, I don't want to give too much. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying what I'm saying, but I'm saying it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I won't tell anybody. So
it's live. Oh, well.
Whatever. Okay. So all these people are cool. They'll keep their lips sealed.
Yeah.
Shut. Or we can't find the cool stuff for you anymore. You guys think of some questions that you want to ask. I'm going to keep on going, but I want you guys to be able to ask some questions. I know you got a burning desire to ask them, and you've got this rare opportunity to do them, so you should. I got to read the advanced copy of number 1. I will tell you that you're right about Leonardo Manco's art. It is so beautiful, and I don't know how he renders it, if he's a digital artist or if this is all practical, but it feels to me like art you would want to frame and put on your wall.
That's huge to me. Like when I watch a movie and I can look at it and I can say, okay, every frame could be a piece of art on my wall. Those are the kind of films I want to watch. These are the kind of comics I want to read, where you could take any panel and have it as an individual piece of art on your wall. And that is what Leonardo Manco does. He takes the time to make the details in the rocks, the faces. If you really look around, you'll find like little hidden monkeys and frogs. And it's just, I mean, I think he was so inspired by Frazetta, like many artists are. Mm-hmm. And I can just see his clear inspiration in so many panels where he listened to me, and that made me really, really happy. But I told him that his artwork really reminded me of my grandfather's last interior comic artwork in the Creepy, and it was the story of the werewolf. And I could see him pulling a lot from that strip, and I was like, okay, like he really just gets it. Like no one will ever be Frazetta, but Manco is like, he's up there. He's creating. I mean, he's a legend on his own, and his style just really complements Frazetta's artwork so well. I mean, I've never seen anyone be able to do like that kind of just like the rawness and the emotions on the faces and just like the action. I mean, it's really incredible. And really that's why I started drawing. It wasn't to become an artist. It was really so I could understand how good artists really are when they are masters at their craft. And I feel like the only way you can understand that and appreciate it is if you try to do it, and then you're like, oh wow, this is insane when someone's just so good. So yeah, when I saw Manko, and we almost lost Manko a few times on the project, and I was like, I know. I'm like, no one else can do this. We can't make the comic if we don't have Leonardo. We just can't.
Oh, that would be terrifying.
Oh.
1/6 Shooter has a good question. Is it a limited series or ongoing?
It is a limited series, and I just want to say hi to Trevor. Trevor actually was taking the photographs for our Dark Wolf figure, and they turned out amazingly. So 1/6 Shooter, guys, go follow his page. But yeah, so it will be 6 issues, sadly. But we might have spin-offs because depending on the success of this series, I hope that I think when people start reading it, they're going to say you got to pick up this series. It's really good.
The other question I had is that, okay, you said it was prequel. How far back from the events that are part of the film is the storyline we're reading in the Dynamite books?
Approximately 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so not too far back. We didn't want Tiger as like a preteen or anything. It needed to be still appropriate.
I loved, I don't know if this was part of the writing process that Bill Willingham had. I'm sure it is, but the making of the illustration of that opening sequence where it's describing the being sandwiched between the dragon and the tiger, and then there's a mouse, and that no matter what happens, the mouse is of no consequence to the dragon or the tiger, but it is regardless is going to be destroyed or smashed by the hatred of the dragon and tiger for each other as they fight. So I love that. And
yeah,
Bill, if that was your thought process, like even the illustration idea for it, it's just
that was the brilliance between Bill and Leonardo. I mean, when we read that, when I first read it, I'll be honest, I was getting into it and I was like, where's he going with this? And then I was like, oh gosh, I'm like, it's such a, I mean, we can all feel those pressures as humans and with war and everything else. And the elites they just sandwich us in between and we don't matter. So, I mean, it's just so relative to everything. And of course, I mean, we are in nature. We're not separated from that. But the way he did that with the parable in the beginning and leading into the first scene, I just absolutely loved it. And then I also was a little worried about that in the beginning because I was like, how is Leo going to illustrate that? And then, of course, when I saw the illustration come in, I was like, damn. I was like, well, I just, again, leave it to the artists. They know what they're doing. They work really beautifully together. And it's funny because Bill, we had a conversation recently, and he's like, I just want to have people have a great time reading my stories, and I'm not trying to like teach anyone a lesson or fill anyone with too many ideas about like how life works. And then I thought back and I was like, wait, like his whole what?
That doesn't track. I read this book.
Yeah. I'm like, you're such an artist, like self-deprecating, not thinking he's actually like teaching these like spiritual lessons of life. And I'm like, oh my God, like he's how does he not like see that he's, I guess what he meant is like being like really like super like kind of political. Like we really wanted to get, we just wanted, we wanted, there's so much like divide anyway in the world where we were just like, we want to just have something where people can escape and feel like they're just transmitted into another world and there's none of the crap, that everyday crap that we have to deal with. When I want a true escape, and that was the vision for Fire and Ice, where I'm like, we're not going to have any like modern speaking, nothing. We want all the modern stuff out, and we want to go to the world of Fire and Ice. That was my desire, and that's what happened.
Okay, so is the witch that's part of the storyline, is that part of the original Fire and Ice?
Yes, Roleel. Her and her son Atwa, her demented son.
I like it.
um,
He's a ginger.
yeah, he's a ginger. um, yeah, so she played I mean, she was like in, I don't know, like 2 minutes of the film. So she didn't have a very big role, but we really liked the witch, and we were like, let's really expand on this. So she might have her own spin-off because she's a great character. And same with Atwa.
I could see absolutely that
Yeah.
character could have some breathing room. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Eric Alfred Abel was kind of thinking about out loud that maybe a Jaguar God figure might be something that could be made next.
Oh yeah, Jaguar God would be really cool. We'd have to talk to Glenn Danzig about that because that's his character. So, one thing with Frazetta Girls, what we've been really we're priding ourselves in doing is connecting with the original IP owners, respecting them. My grandfather was an illustrator, and a lot of it was work for hire, so those were not his character creations. So, but we've been making good relationships, and hopefully we'll be able to make a Vampirella and many other strong IPs because he needs to get some Frazetta Girl action figures, and Vampirella would be really cool. Yeah.
I think that's a good lesson about like how to do business in the new world of who owns what and who's owed what based on that. There's so much right now that we see, in the art world where people are just like full on swiping people's art and putting it on t-shirts, and to walk people through just like kind of light way about what it's like to approach someone about their IP and to be able to use it.
Well, I think if you just approach it in a very humble way of saying, listen, like we understand, it's because at the end of the day, it's about the fans, and the fans don't want an off-brand vampire mistress. I mean, they know it as Vampirella. So our goal is to make the fandom as strong as possible, and that only way that can be done is having Frazetta and Vampirella come together and a partnership, and having Conan and Frazetta come together. Oh, there's my neighbor's dogs. Can you hear that?
No.
Okay, good. All right. Good. They're really loud and annoying. So I'm glad it doesn't pick up from that far. Back on track. But yeah, just respecting, I mean, even going as far as like creepy and eerie, what it would be to be able to like, work with the owners on that and have Frazetta posters of the original creepy magazines. And so we always want to do everything with like real integrity. And again, it's not all of ours. So it should be shared. And when people get greedy and think, oh, I don't want to give a royalty, that's always going to backfire on you. Like it's always, there's more than enough to go around. Pay the people that deserve to be paid, pay your artists, pay your writers, and pay the people who have worked a long time to buy intellectual property. That's not something that's easy to do, and to register copyright and to register it's expensive. So everyone deserves their share of the pie, and when you can work like that collaboratively, everything works so much smoother. I see it all the time with big companies. They won't give the credit to the original artists, and it's like, why? Like, just if there's enough to go around. So I just think it's important to have that mentality, and that's always been my passion to bring things together and not to fight against it. And we had a lot of work to undo because unfortunately some of the family members that had control didn't see it like that. And I just know that my grandfather, if he would have been able to make business decisions, he would have been very willing to do that. I mean, my grandpa was giving art away at points of his life just to collect cameras. So he was not a greedy man. He was very frugal and very humble in regards to money.
So just for people that are interested in that part of creativity and IP stuff, the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund had a bunch of panels at San Diego Comic-Con regarding IP. There was a 2-part one that I think they recorded it, so you guys should be able to find it. It would be very helpful for any of you guys that are like creators and want to know how to own your IP, what is a copyright, what's a trademark, and what's the difference, all those kinds of things. they have lots of resources for you.
Yeah, that's great
We have a
advice.
question from John. How long is your Vampire really going to be?
Well, that's also a limited series. Gosh, do we have four? I think we have 4 issues. Yeah, we have 4 issues. I hope. I think I'm correct on that. I'm so like scattered right now. Sorry, Bob. But we're hoping to also spin off on that. But yeah, that's a really fun series. Like I said, it's very gothic, and it's kind of going back in time. I'm an old soul, so I like the older stuff. I'm a classic girl. So Bob was just, like I said, he's great to work with. He took all of my notes, like from names. Like I'm really weird with names. The names have to flow for me. So the characters just they had to have the perfect names and the look. And Alberto Locatelli, he did the interior art, and oh my God, like I mean, he just elevated it to the next level. Where I was like, how did he? There was like there was no back and forth about artist. It was just Matt Idelson again. He's from Dynamite. Just right away, he knew the perfect artist for the project, and it's been easy. That one's been like very seamless. I've been very lucky. Probably won't get so lucky on the next one. It's always like that. You have one hard one and then one really easy one. It's kind of the polarity of life make you strong.
I think that's like a part of our industry that people don't really think about, like the matching of writing talents and artistic talents and editing talents. Like that is a lot of where the magic happens, right? If you match any of those things incorrectly, then you can, no matter how good the product is, it cannot end up being kind of botched at the end.
And then if you get like artists coming in and out of the series, it really complicates things. And yeah, I learned a lot from working with Opus for the first year and working on the Death Dealer series, and the problems were just stacked on each other, and it was just a hot mess. and we're getting through it. We're pulling together now with Opus. And now I'm really actually excited about this new series. It's called Death Dealer 2099. I did not like the idea of it at all. I'll be very frank with you. I was like, listen, I'm like, I'm already not happy right now. I'm like, this sounds terrible. But I read the outline a couple days ago, and I've been working with the artist, Andy Bellinger. And Andy is a really cool guy. Again, I always just think it's got to be, with any project that's creative, you have to have a chemistry with the creator, the writer, with the artist, because you communicate and be honest and understood. And Andy and I had that right away. And when I read the outline, I was like, damn, we should have started with this. This would have actually been a better introduction for Death Dealer. So I was shocked. I'm like, I love it. I'm blown. I can't believe I like it. So I'm excited for that. And like I said, I'm very honest. Like if I'm not, like my heart's not in something 100%, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say when we have fails, and say, hey, that's part of it though. The reason that Frazetta was held up for so long and nothing was being made was because, again, the people in charge were very finicky about something being made, and they were like, no, it has to be perfect. And I get that. I understand, he's the godfather of fantasy art. Of course, there has to be a standard, but you also have to have a launching point and not be afraid of having those losses, because you will have the wins and you have to just be okay with a little humiliation at times and saying, hey, it just didn't work out the way we thought it would. But we learned a lot from it. We learned what to do, what not to do. And that's all you can do in life. But if you don't ever do anything, I mean, it's tragedy for everyone involved, including yourself.
Yeah. It's hard to know. Like sometimes retailers on our end will ask the publishers, hey, which do you think in your slate of releases, which one is a guaranteed winner? And they're like, we don't have any way to tell you this, because we can feel very strongly about a thing, but if it's not received the way that we intended, or if it's just the wrong timing for something, that all can be kibosh. So sometimes the work is amazing that's released, it just doesn't hit at the time, or something's going on, or people are distracted by Barbie. I don't know.
Yeah. I still haven't seen that movie. Have you seen it?
No, I want to see it really badly.
I mean, I was a Barbie girl. I'm like, I have to see Barbie, but I hope it just doesn't ruin it for me because I love Barbie so much.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So it better be good. I think it's good. I think it has good
Oh, I've
reviews.
heard people have gone like 3 and 4 times already, so it must be
Oh,
amazing.
wow. Oh my gosh. It better be amazing.
I missed a question up earlier because I can't remember who put it up, but it was a good question. Whether Ralph Bakshi had any was part of the collaboration for this new project.
So he didn't put in any ideas, but Bakshi, the Bakshi family, Victoria and Eddie, his children, have been collaborating with us on the entire time, and they have given feedback from Ralph, and they said he was very proud of this and very happy. So that was very important to us. Again, collaboration, having it's Ralph Bakshi's as much as it is Frazetta's, and the fact that Ralph's still with us is a really great thing. We're hoping to hear from Ralph soon. I mean, I've been trying to get on a phone call with him. Like, can he talk? But Ralph's he's getting up there. I think he's at 90 now. So I don't think I'd want to be talking to anyone at 90. It's hard enough now. Can't imagine 60 years from now. Huh.
If he's like my father at all, rest his soul, he did not want to admit that he was losing his hearing.
I'm losing my hearing already. I think my voice is so loud, I'm deafening myself from speaking. It's my partner Joe. He's like, I think you've made yourself deaf from how loud you talk. I'm like, thank you.
I mean, there's
it's only going to get worse.
All right, Comics with Bueller. Mr. Travis has got a really good question. Question for you. You're up against an army of monsters. What's your weapon of choice? Sword, battle axe, or spear? The best question ever.
I think I'd go with the classic sword. Okay. Yeah.
Do you have a why in this instance?
Well, any knives, swords, they scare me. They intimidate me. So I think that would I could use all that adrenaline and really execute with a sword. Pun intended. I don't know. I don't know. I might probably just bite someone, use my own fists. I'd get scrappy.
Yes. I mean, my thought was I thought your answer was the right answer because I always think of battle axes and spears, at least traditionally in movies, they get stuck in stuff. And if it's an army of monsters, you can't deal with something that gets stuck in a monster. You need something you can just swing it and, pop heads off with. So.
Yeah, you have to take the head off for sure. I mean, in the spear, my aim's not that good, so I'd miss entirely. Have to be holding something. I'm not that coordinated.
You guys have any more questions? Pop them in. It's your opportunity. And if I missed one, you can totally put it back in. I apologize. We have a lot of people actively talking, which I think is awesome.
Any iconic weapons in the works? Frazetta weapons? Yeah, I can't announce it yet, but we're working with my good friend Bill, another Bill, so many Bills, and we are creating some tools. So that's all I can say now. It's very early stages, but I've been trying to I don't know who put it out, but it was a couple years ago, and they put out a Frazetta Death Dealer axe, and I really wanted that, but I didn't get it, unfortunately.
All right, this is your challenge, everybody. Bill plus tools equals what? You got to figure it out. It's like a big mystery you guys can unravel. John says, "What's the chance of writing a Red Sonja book?" Ooh, I know there's.
That would be really fun. I don't know. I'll have to talk to Nick. We'll see how Dead Flowers goes first. If it's a flop, no chance. If it's successful, maybe, because I love Red Sonja. Red Sonja and Vampirella, they're my girls. I love them. When I started drawing, that's what I was drawing. I was drawing just Red Sonja, Vampirellas, back to back to back. So it's kind of like that full circle thing of now I'm doing the series. I'm like, well, let's see. And when I started drawing, like I said to you earlier, I was drawing only really to just understand art and the artist that I'm working with and my grandfather, and I just started posting it on Facebook, and I knew it was really bad because I just started. I hadn't drawn anything since I was a kid, and I'm not just a natural artist like my grandfather is. But I started just like posting it online, and my whole family was like, "You're crazy, like your art's so terrible, why would you like post it and like, you know, be so vulnerable?" And I'm like, because one day if something happens from it, people who were with me from the beginning have that inspirational story to see that if you don't give up, something can happen. And I
Mhm.
just wanted to put myself out there and be totally vulnerable. Like, listen, like my grandfather's Frank Frazetta. He's like the master of fantasy art. And I don't even hold a candle, or I'm not even close, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't do art. Everyone should do art at their own level. And if it gives you some insight, like it did for me, or if it's a therapeutic process, do art. Don't be intimidated by it. Just do it. If you feel like you have that urge in you, like put it out there, and it might connect to some people. You don't know.
I think that's great advice because every artist I've ever talked to about what is your best advice for people that are they're wanting to be artists, like actually work in the field, and they're like, do art when you wake up, do art before you go to bed, do art in between, and never stop. And that's
Yeah.
what I hear from every field that's a creative field.
Yep. That's my friend Bill Sienkiewicz. I'm sure you know Bill too.
Mhm.
Bill, that's what he said to me. I was like, Bill, when I was really getting into it, and I was like, what's your advice? And he goes, draw everything you see. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't commit that much, but I'll draw sometimes. I just will never be a master, but it's okay. I have other things that I love doing too. And that's what you have to accept. It's like if you're not willing to put 100% into it, you're not going to get to 100%. It's just not going to happen. So
Yep.
it's like if you're like a, you know, kind of like I'm a little bit all over the place and like a jack of all trades, but I'm okay with that. I accept that reality. I like that. And I'm okay with never the fact that I'll never be a master at anything because I'm never going to put 100% into one thing. So it's like people just you have to just understand like the reality of what you are and like who you are, and be happy with that. Like I said, it's like Bill Sienkiewicz, the top artist. I mean, that's. I remember seeing. I was at a booth with Clayton Crane, and I remember he didn't stop drawing. Like it was insane. Like where I was like, oh my god, what is wrong with this person? Like he didn't stop like all day, and I was like, this is the dedication it takes. And I can say, you know what, I'll retract that a little bit because I'm very like self-deprecating. I do have to say I'm very dedicated to Frazetta Girls. I do give Frazetta Girls that's my baby. So anything under the roof of like my business and my brand, that's my baby. That's what I can say. I don't know what will happen when in 10 years from now, but from what I'm seeing of how much effort we're putting in and how much love we're giving it, I think we'll be very happy when we look back and say, wow, it was worth no days off.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you started officially in 2013. What did it look like when you first started Frazetta Girls? Was it just an idea of getting the work out there? Did you have a fully realized idea in your head?
That's a great question. So my grandfather had passed away in 2010. I was working as a production coordinator in Tampa. I just graduated from college a couple years before, and I really was going to go into like advertising, like something creative, but I wasn't sure like what. And at this time, when I was a production coordinator, I was doing like voice talent casting, and it was still like in the realm of the creativity that I liked doing, and I was happy to do it. But my mom came to me after the siblings had split the rights up, and they figured all the legal stuff out. Well, kind of figured out some of the legal stuff. And she said, you know, Sarah, I know you're kind of in between right now with like your career. Would you want to start Frazetta Girls with me? And I was like, what does that look like? And she's like, well, we're going to go to a convention in Miami. This was at the time when Robert Rodriguez was involved. So Robert was really the backbone to getting us started. Robert, he started doing the full sublimation T-shirts, we continue to ride on for another decade. And he got us like the banner, Rodriguez presents Frazetta. We got a signature Frazetta T-shirt and some vintage posters, and we went to the convention, and that's it. And we were like, oh, we'll just see what happens. But for a long time, this was a very part-time job. I mean, it was not making any money at all. One thing with Frazetta Girls, like my mom is the founder of Frazetta Girls, but now she is Really just focusing on enjoying life. You know, she'll curate the original art museum seasonally, and we do that together. But Frazetta Girls has been a labor of love from Joe and I. We've really had no capital to work on. It's really been the fans who have supported us and got us to where we are today. Just the support from our online store. We never. Another thing with business is like I don't really want to take anyone's money because that scares me. I was like, nah, we'll just grow really slow and see how it goes. So that's really been our process of just growing really slow and organically. And you know, when the market demands something, then we're there and we're ready to give it. But I was working as a social media manager in real estate and other jobs like up until 2018. So it was then when and I told Joe, my partner, I was like, you know, because he was doing all the back end stuff, getting us to be an online brand, building the website, developing the product, the merchandising. And he was at home for a couple years and just building that. And then I was going out and supporting us doing other jobs. And then in 2020, we became profitable. And it really wasn't until just 3 years ago. And now it's starting to move and it's really exciting. But it's like, and that's what I tell people. It's like, you know, it's great to be an entrepreneur and to want to build a business, but you have to have other jobs on the side because it doesn't work like that. It's not like you have your website up and the sales start pouring in. It's like, no. And even my grandfather's like, a huge name. He was so famous in the 60s and 70s and still to this day, so recognizable. And having a famous grandfather, it wasn't that easy either to sell his prints and to sell merchandise. It's like we had to build that customer base and that trust and the community because it just doesn't happen overnight. As you know, as a business owner, it's a lot of having your fingers and toes crossed and going, I hope they love this. I hope they love the product.
I think that social media has kind of like made us believe that, like all you have to do is like make some interesting content and then you go viral. And we know that that's not the way these things work. It's that people put in tons of work on the back end and really, dig in and, like you're saying, your partner, Joe, making an amazing website and thinking about what kind of product people actually want. And you guys, I'm sure that you guys went to tons and tons of conventions and try to, get in front of people that would love his work and just had a
Well, even the conventions are really when we started to pivot. I mean, we were doing conventions for many years, and I would just come home like, the fans were great. It was wonderful to meet everyone, but we came home and we were just like, I have no money to eat this week. Like I have nothing. Like I lost money like going to the shows, and that kept happening where I think one show we made a good amount of money. It was Motor City Comic Con. It was in Detroit. I had my sisters with me and I got to pay them and I like made some money myself. And I was like, it was probably a very small amount of money, but I was grateful for anything at the time. I'm like, as long as I can pay my rent and eat this week, great. But we just kept getting broker and broker and broker. And I'm like, you know what? I love going to the conventions. I love having that Comic-Con family and getting to get on the road, but it didn't make sense for us as a business anymore. And it's like, that's the sacrifice we had to make where we're like, we can't go to conventions for a while because we need to figure a new model out. I mean, we'd have people, as much as we had the fans coming up to us, we had a lot of people who were like, they're going to see the Marvel movies. They don't care. They're like, who's Frazetta, walking right by the booth? And we're like, we need to, well, and it's just, it just gave us insight of what we needed to do to make it known to the new generation who Frazetta is. And we were like, all right, we got to go back to the drawing boards. We got to go work hard and no more fun. No more conventions. We're done. Back in the house. So even now, like we have some convention appearances coming up. We went to San Diego. We did a panel. But when I go back into Comic Cons, I'm going to have a booth like Alex Ross and Bill Sienkiewicz for my grandfather. It's going to be like a retrospective where people can come in who don't know Frazetta. They can see some of our products that we've made and just get a story about my grandfather from a few pieces, reproductions, maybe a couple originals will be there, hopefully. And just kind of get like an idea of like Frazetta, get inspired. And again, it's just not quite there yet for our business model, but I think these action figures, I think that's going to be the catalyst to get us back into Comic-Cons.
All right. I wanted to mention Third Rail's comment here was very nice. They cherish everything they own by Frazetta, especially the documentary film featuring him paint and explaining his process. So that's beautiful. It was a well-loved thing.
Yep. They're re-releasing that documentary soon. Lance Laspina, he's working on some options of where it will be seen. I think it's going to be probably online on a website, but we're not sure yet. But he's working on that. So, because there's a lot of people that haven't gotten to see Painting with Fire. It's been off the market for years now.
So what's next for Frazetta Girls, and what's next for you?
So, well, we're going to keep expanding this action figure line. We're going to keep putting out comics. We're going to keep putting out really cool products, denim jackets, skateboards, brand collaborations that are just, anything. We're really liking this whole in-house production model of business that we're doing now. But when an opportunity comes up to collab with a really cool brand, we love that, because that's just all, again, it's about the fandom. So we have a couple cool collabs coming. And then we're working on very early stages. We did announce this at Comic-Con, but we are working to make a new Frazetta documentary. And we want it to be, we can't make what Painting with Fire was. Painting with Fire was my grandfather. It was his backstory. It was him. And he's not here with us anymore. But what we do want to highlight now is the aftermath of like what this person did for the world, and having interviews with Guillermo del Toro and Kirk Hammett and Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron. Those are all like Arnold Schwarzenegger. We want to have a piece that's just so inspiring to the world, to show that if you are brave enough, like my grandfather, to be yourself and be original, what kind of domino effect that can have on the world, and how it crosses over in so many directions. So we're putting that together, and hopefully that will be out by the time I pass away. Done filmmaking. I was gonna say a couple of years, but I'm like, well, I'll just extend it.
Is the website have any links to where the action figures? Or is that going to be when you launch Kickstarter will be on there, or is it better to watch you on social media for that?
So the action figure is available to pre-order now, and that's on our main page, FrazettaGirls.com. You'll see Dark Wolf come up. He's also in the Big Bad Toy Store, in case anyone's like, loyal shoppers there, which is great. And role-playing game, that will be up, like I said, probably August 8th. And we will be, I'm sure Dynamite will be promoting that, and then we will be as well. And the Kickstarter is going to be really cool. We have so many different items that are going to be attached to that role-playing game for backers. This is our first Kickstarter, so we're a little nervous about it, but Nick's an expert, so not too nervous.
Perfect. All right, everybody, this is your reminder. Go to your local comic shop. Let them know you want this awesome book, Fire and Ice, this prequel, so you can enjoy the amazing art and the writing. And then add it to your pull list if you like it. Make sure you let them know. Support those guys. They are the life's blood of what happens in the comic book industry. Thank you so much, Sarah. This is like
Jen.
The most fun hour I've ever had.
Oh my God. Well, I love talking to you. You're wonderful. And thank you for supporting Fire and Ice and doing this. And we love local comic shops, and you guys are the lifeblood of all of this. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone that tuned in. Remember to subscribe so you can never, ever miss any of this awesomeness ever again. Talk to you guys next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.